Hi, Oscar. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about Reg A, because that's the subject that we will be talking about today. So for those people that are maybe new to investing or just new to the concept of Reg A, it's not something that's like known everywhere in Europe, for example. Can you explain what a Reg A is?
Great. Thank you. So Regulation A+, it was introduced during the Jobs Act when Barack Obama signed it into 2012. It took a number of years before this particular regulation came out, but it is, in many ways, it is considered the holy grail of capital raising for private companies, and for many reasons. So number one, it allows you to raise up to $75 million every 12 months. And right now, the regulators in the United States are discussing to increase that to 150 million. So that's a very important piece of component. But people would go, well, we could always raise unlimited amount of capital, but you couldn't do it in the fashion that I'm about to describe. So Regulation A Plus allows you to raise up to 75 every 12 months from anybody over the age of 18 anywhere in the world. And that is the game changer. So even in Canada, I can't go out and raise money from people that are not accredited or non-sophisticated, high net worth, whatever the terminology may be in every country. But Regulation A Plus allows you to attract both audiences. It's about inclusion into the deal. So the regulators also created rules around, so here you can raise this much money, here's who you can raise it from, and then the companies, they need to either come from the United States, so they need to be domiciled in the United States or domiciled in Canada.
Yeah.
So people from Europe, if you're listening, and they go, oh, so it's not for me. Well, the irony is that the darling of Regulation A+, the one that everybody looks up to, is a UK-based company, Brewdog Breweries. So there is a model how a foreign company can come and create an entity in the United States and use that as your launch pad. So look, at the end of the day, it is the world's largest private capital markets. It is where the capital is.
Yeah.
And so you're going to do whatever you can to, grow your business. And that's what Brewdog did. Brewdog today has shareholders in 86 countries around the world, 1.2 million of them. They call them punks. Today, and people go, well, that's easy, Oscar. They're a brewery, Well, if you've ever been to London, England, you would take that back, because when I met them 6-7 years ago, they were just like every other pub with a micro brewing inside of it. So they
there's more breweries than beer drinkers.
Exactly. And so it was but here the innovation was, how do we take this company out of the UK and get them to use the regulation in the United States? And it can be done. So you have to be domiciled in these in these two countries, but can you do it? The answer is yes. So those are some of the amazing elements of the regulation.
Yeah, so this enables just any let's say man or woman from the streets, wherever you are in the world, to participate in a project like, for example, the project that we are trying to accomplish at Zergratran, and everybody can participate through this Reg A structure.
Correct. Nobody's excluded, and the regulators put in protections so nobody in any particular way could exceed a certain amount of money to put into a company, so it would not break them. But for the very first time, look, people go, well, oh, great, I'll reach the whole world. I mean, you don't have to reach the whole world. You can just reach 233 million Americans that are over the age of 18. So the numbers are great. So the issue really is, how do you tap into that? And that's really been where everybody's at. One, the regulators have opened the regulations. They've created the mechanism. And now you just need to be able to attract that audience to your company.
Yeah. So and there are so in this Reg A process, there's the two most important parties, I guess, is on the one hand the person who wants to invest, and then all the way on the other hand is the company that's raising money for a project, a product, or a business. What parties are in between? Because it's more than one party that's involved in a Reg A plus.
Oh, it's like a big crowd in itself. So the regulators created the rules and provided clear instructions, and they are clear. So number one, the company needs to have an auditor. So whether the company's brand new, which you can, you still need to get audited financial statements. It'll just say 000. That's not a problem. So you need audited financial statements. You need a lawyer, a securities lawyer, one with experience to file a Form 1A for you. It's critical. Why? Well, if you go with a lawyer that's never done it before, your start to finish could be 1 to 2 years. You go with one that's been doing it for the last 5-6 years, you could be qualified in 30, 45 days. So the quicker that it makes a big difference when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
The next piece you are required to have is a FINRA broker-dealer. So the role of the broker-dealer in this case is not like in the traditional way where I go to a broker and say, hey, I'm raising $15 million. Can you go out there to your investors? This broker-dealer in this model, they are performing a very important task, which is what we call the compliance task. So they're performing to make sure that every investor, identification, ID, AML, anti-money laundering, they're doing those. They're doing sanction screening and suitability. So someone is vetting in those investors to make sure that they met the requirements. They haven't exceeded their limits. So that's what the broker-dealer does. They're also responsible to make sure that any messages by the company that are being put out there, they're reviewing. The next one after that is you need an escrow provider. An escrow is where the money goes before it goes into, so when the investor makes the investment, no monies have yet been pulled from them. First, they need to pass the compliance part of the broker-dealer. But once the broker-dealer approves the investor, the monies can be pulled. And when the monies are pulled from your account, credit card or ACH, whatever that form may be, they go into an escrow account. And they go into an escrow account until the broker-dealer and the company make a decision when to do what is called a rolling close. And you can have them as often as you like, as frequently as you like, but that is the process that is needed. The last piece is that you need an SEC registered transfer agent. So what is required here is that the regulators said, okay, we're going to allow you to raise this kind of capital. You're going to bring in the general public. We need the book of records being properly managed. We can't rely, because we're not dealing with 100 shareholders now. We're dealing with 1,000, 10,000. Yeah. It could be 100,000 shareholders. So so the SEC registered transfer agent all need to be part of that at the beginning. And then, of course, how do you glue all that together? That's a lot of different pieces, because the holy grail of the regulation is the regulator said that you can now raise this money on your website. And you're like, okay, how do I do that? People fill out a form. I mean, so, and keep it in mind that, if they do a form, how do you get that information to the broker-dealer? How does the broker-dealer get it done? And how does the money? So you need an infrastructure. You need an infrastructure that understands the process of collecting the information from the investor, getting all that is necessary, getting them to sign, passing that information through to the broker-dealer, from the broker-dealer to the payment, from the payment to the escrow, and then from escrow to the company, and then issuing the shares to the investors. And that's what we do at KoreKonX. We're that piece that nobody sees, that people don't know how it's all done. They just see it and they go, oh, okay, it's like magic. But we need that, because otherwise we're not going to be able to transact in any particular volume in the market. I mean, is it foreseeable that you could have 10, 20,000 shareholders I've seen it. I mean, it's not foreseeable. I know it's possible. So you have to be ready for that. And technology plays a critical role in all that. And technology isn't just there to do all the regulatory items. It could also play a role in marketing. Well, So the thing about online investing is the company's spending a lot of money on another service that is non-regulated, and we call it investor acquisition. So these are activities how a company can generate awareness through, it could be, social media, webinars, podcasting, whatever it takes to bring the audience in. But the question then becomes, how do you track that? How do you know where it's coming? How do you know what's working? So within our infrastructure, we have a no-code solution for social media where they can real-time know whether this is coming from Twitter, Facebook, where they are, who are they, how they invested, where they are in the investment process. So in real time, they can go, okay, you know what? We need to shift our gear. We're starting to get a lot of investors from Florida. Let's focus there. So it allows you to understand where you should be targeting your attention. Or it could be age, it could be a profession, it could be a number of things. Every company is different, but the days of just throwing traffic in and, somebody's going to invest are gone. We're now more methodical. We need to know, where is it coming from? Are there more like-minded individuals like this individual that will like our project and be able to want to invest in it?
Yeah, so what you do is you enable companies to be much more effective, because in today's digital age, you can actually target people. You can say, we want business owners in the age of 30 to 50 in Florida. I mean,
Correct.
it's on it's a pretty granular level that you can target. So that's one of the things that you do.
100%. We are. What we are doing, we want, our tagline is, we empower the private markets. And it's a big tagline because there's a lot of participants. I mean, you asked me who's involved. Well, so first of all, lawyers, I mean, they're everywhere. They're not technology driven, neither are auditors. No. Internally, they have it, but how they connect, broker dealers, there's the other one. And then you got the banks, then you got the payment rails. I mean, it's one of the most amazing things that are occurring in the private markets, and by investing in the infrastructure, which we have, is to ultimately make it even easier for a company. The company will still need to do the work. I don't want anybody to think, well, look at that, this is simple, I'll identify this and boom, I'll get it. No, you still need to do the work. The work is, you still need to have a business plan. You still need to communicate. You still need to have all this. It just isn't. Yeah. What's that expression people say? If you build it, they will come. No.
No. No.
If you build it and you promote it and you tell people about it and you talk about it, and maybe they will come. And so there are many different things that need to be considered. I have a book coming out. It's called The Investor Acquisition Activities. I identified over 50 plus different things that a company can do. Do you need to do all of them? The answer is no.
No.
That is not. But you need to be aware of them. Why? Because when you're working with an agency to do the work, you need to understand what it is that they're doing. So I'm sure you've met CEOs like this. Okay, get it going. I know you guys can do it. Okay, and they think that you're going to do it. No. We don't do this. We only do this. Oh, okay, but you can do that part. No. We only do this. You still got to do all that, and it takes a while. I've seen it firsthand where clients come out and go, "Yeah, my race wasn't successful," and I go, "Really? Why? What happened?" And, well, I hired that company. I spent X number of dollars, and nothing came in. But all they did was this. Who was doing the rest? Well, I thought they were doing that. Well, how could you thought that? I don't get it. So I would go back to the agency. I said, listen, I know you must have made it clear to them you only do that. Yeah, we did. We only, it. So we need to be really careful that with that. And so that's the reason why I brought the book out is, so one, to educate them. So about empowerment is all about writing. I mean, I've written so many books over the years, but to give them the tool set. So when they do speak to Martin or they speak to Alessandro or anybody else and they go, okay, I would like this. Yes, we do that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No, we don't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me find someone.
So, and I've heard you mention technology in a few times. Now, this also plays a significant role in raising money, and there's a lot of exciting new technologies. I mean, well, the AI and ChatGPT is the big buzzword now, but there's also blockchain. So, what do you see when it comes to technology and raising funds?
So raising capital online, it's all about technology, 100%.
Yes.
100%. But when there are so many different pieces that you need to rely on, that is when we have a problem. So we do have an Achilles heel in the private market. Nobody talks about it, and that is banking. That is it. So people go, what are you talking about? There's lots of banking. No, banking. How do I move money from Oscar to Martin?
Yes.
People go, but that's easy. No, it's not. Not in a regulated arena. And so it is the Achilles heel of the market. A company will raise $5 million in a month, and it'll take the broker-dealer or the platform 3 to 4 months to reconcile. And people go, what? What do you mean reconcile? The money's there. Yes, but the money has to be reconciled. That transaction to this individual, boom. And so I won't go into the dirty secrets of it, but the point is that, yes, technology plays a critical role. Is IA going to play a role? We have to be very careful with IA in how it's used. We have an IA company ourselves, and we've been working on it for the last 4 years. We're using it predominantly from back office transactions, regulatory. I've already seen what people are doing with it already, helping people pick investments. I don't think that's a wise thing right now. I caution anyone doing that. The regulators are already provided, in particular in the United States, a warning that they're reviewing this. I think it's very dangerous, and part of it is because you may ask it a question, but it's not going to know your situation. That's why you have broke. I'm not suggesting anybody's not smart enough or anything like that to go and make money on your own. Absolutely not. I'm not. But we've all seen what blockchain and the crypto space have done to the everyday people. Billions and billions of dollars have been sold. So IA, it is going to be there. I think you're going to see it more in the back office for making it inefficient. And that's where blockchain sits. So blockchain, for everybody, all they ever hear about is crypto, NFTs, and all that. And we use blockchain because it is the most most efficient technology in the world. And what does that mean? Well, I just described to you all the different parties involved in a capital raise. So now you got 10,000 shareholders. Just imagine for a moment. And one of the things about the regulation that's really important, the regulator said that when Martin invests $100 in my company, the security, the shares that he gets, he can trade them the minute he receives them. He can trade them, transfer them, all of that. So imagine if we were doing all that in the old-fashioned way, paper-based. It would never be efficient. So where blockchain comes in is that immutability of ownership, investor protection. So we're using it from a protection point of view. And people, what are you talking? Yes, you as an investor are protected. The minute you say, you see in your screen, you own 1,000 shares, you own 1,000 shares. The transfer agent is telling you, but it's immutable. Nobody could ever erase your record. Nobody can say, oh my God, we had a hack and we lost the data. No, that will never happen. You own 1,000 shares until you do transfers and trades. And that investor protection goes a long way. So that's when it's used in that context. Number two, when they want to do a transfer, the transfer can be done a lot quicker because we already know you own it. So the verification process, boom, it's done.
Yes, much faster,
Much faster. Secondary market trading, ATSs are starting to show up. So one of the primary roles of the ATS, it has to validate that you own the shares to trade them. Otherwise, it can't do it. So we have a settlement engine with the secondary ATSs where it lets them know, because we're also an SEC registered transfer agent. So it's all been managed on this infrastructure. So the efficiencies is like one of those things you don't see, you don't appreciate, because this is all new. So when I describe it to everyday people, but what are you talking about? I didn't know it. See, I didn't know. So you would never experience it. So then I usually give this analogy. Have you ever been, this is more in North America, I can't speak of Europe, but anybody who's ever gone to go get their driver's license renewed will know the process, right? You go there, they tell you to fill out a form, right? And you fill it all out. Then you stand in line for 20, 30 minutes or get a number. Then you wait. Then they go in and take a picture. And then they type everything out that you already provided them. And you're going, this is so inefficient. Exactly. It's so inefficient. So you're thinking, wait a minute, I already got my driver's license. I should be treated differently. I should have it now there. Just give me a computer terminal with a built-in camera. Geez, confirm my address or update my address, and it's done. See? So that's the analogy. So that's what private markets, because it's fairly new. What fairly new meaning what? Well, up until 2012 in the United States and most part of the world, a private investor, an everyday person over the age of 18 did not have the opportunity to participate. So when you don't have the opportunity to participate, you've missed, but you don't know what you've missed because you've never been part of that process. Okay. So you speak to an accredited investor, they'll tell you, oh yeah, I remember, oh my God, a trade could take 6 months and all this paperwork and back and forth, confirmation, legal fees, boom. They get it. But that's not the target audience here. The target audience is the general public. So the efficiencies are not going to be felt the way, but we know from a infrastructure point of view, the impact that it will have on everybody. So that's from the investor. On the company side, it's even more powerful because every single time you go, a broker-dealer, a lawyer, an auditor, a bank, this and that, I need you to fill out an application. I need to validate you're real. Oh my God, it's
much more efficient. It's much more secure. So you can't scam because if it's not on the blockchain, it doesn't exist.
Correct. And that's and this is why for us, we're leading with investor protection and better transparency from the company. I mean, I know it's going to sound weird in Reg A, the earlier Reg A deals, there were some horrible cleanups we had to do. Duffy Duck invested. I mean, how did that happen? How does Duffy Duck invest? And people go, you're joking. No, Duffy Duck invested. That's not possible. There's no way Duffy Duck passed the ID and AML. There's no way of any of that. So this is to prevent all of that, to prevent fraud, to prevent all this padding. So, and again, unless you are in it, you don't appreciate it. For the end user investor, it's all about this. Online investing started in 2012. It launched in 2015, and it's been growing 80% per annum. So how do you know the company you're dealing with is real? How do you know that this offering is? So we as a company, we recognize that. So online capital raising is growing tremendously. That's fantastic, but it comes at a price where like e-commerce was way back in 1999, 2000, where people didn't trust it. So we know that. But the interesting thing is all the data is out there, but the investor doesn't know where to get it. And the company's too busy doing everything else to bring it. So for us on the chain, because we're creating a chain of trust from the day they started, we're launching what is called Core ID Verified. And what that is like a trust certificate that it pops up, and it will tell the company, the investor, yes, this company's real. This is the broker-dealer. Here's the broker check link. Here's this. So giving them the comfort that all of the regulatory items are there. Why? Because there's going to be scrupulous individuals trying to mimic. And, so we need to be at the forefront of protecting investors while giving the companies the ability to raise capital without that kind of knee-jerk reaction. Is it real? Is it not? They should just be looking at the merits of the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and it's important because if investors don't feel safe, they're not going to invest in companies, and then the companies cannot raise capital, and then everything ends. So it's so absolutely great. It's wonderful to see how you are using existing technologies in a new way, which actually is similar to what we at Zergratran are trying to do, is where we want to use existing technologies in new ways to improve supply chains. So obviously you know Zergratran, you know our project. I'm also curious what your views are on what we are doing.
Well, I mean, with any company, I look at every project and I look at it from the perspective that people will find like-minded individuals for what they're doing. And, there's a few things right now that come to mind that immediately, if you would have heard this in the 80s and 90s or even 2000s, people would think you would have been nuts. So first of all, you look at going to space as a private company, and look at us today. We now have three, four space companies competing.
They're doing it.
They're doing
Yeah.
it. We have the Loop, which is again a high-speed loop underground, which people go, this is crazy. But that craziness is now alive. It's between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and it'll be coming to other locations. And then the biggest project that I see is the one in Saudi Arabia. The wall.
The wall, yes.
The wall that and I encourage everybody to look at. This is what I call true imagination and bringing it to life. So imagination in one part and then bringing it to life, meaning that they already started construction. It's getting built in the middle of the desert. So when I think of Zergratran, I think of it in the same category, which is it's a big, big, big project. But like all big projects, you have to get people to understand the problem and the vision behind it all. And I think today companies like Zergratran have an opportunity to get that message across easier. They have to provide it to the audience in a concise manner that they will be able to understand it. And so there'll be those that go, oh my God, this thing's just too big. It's too much for any. Okay, it can be. But look at those who kept moving forward.
Going to space, like buying a ticket to go into space, is crazy as well. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so, no, excellent analogy.
So I think we need to, and so there is an audience for that. And then two, there's companies that are already pushing the boundaries beyond the boundaries that we ever thought of. And so the question is, what other boundaries can be pushed? So, I mean, what he's proposing in Panama is rather interesting, right? Is it completely off the grid, completely on the wax? No, that's the point. That is and I think we need to start looking at it in a different way. I mean, the other day I was watching a documentary on the Panama Canal, how it is one of it's changed the routing of goods and all that from Asia to over here. But the thing is now, but there's a massive backlog, right? So increase in demand has created this backlog. So
it's at capacity, and it's even now getting the capacity is going down a little bit because there's droughts, and now the ships can't be as heavy, so less containers can move through the Panama Canal just because there's not enough water to fill the locks. Which is exactly why we want to create an alternative shipping route through Northern Colombia. So it's
it's probably one of the biggest things again, if you didn't have these other examples of big massive undertaking projects that most people couldn't, it would be very difficult. I think it's a lot easier now, and there are people who understand that this is one step into the next step into the next step. I think we are used to living in a time when we heard about a big project and the only people involved would be the big players. Not all the time. So this is just one of those times.
Yeah. So at one point, there was a Chinese who said to the emperor, Your Excellence, we need a wall. We really need a big wall. And, and the Chinese wall, it's still there and it's still amazing. So, and I think that a lot of people then thought you are crazy for wanting to do this, but it's there.
Yeah,
so,
it's definitely one of those things that but as people become aware of it, so I think that's how Zergratran can come across. There's an entire audience looking at that. There's an entire world looking at all these massive, look at the other one. Elon Musk is building a city in Texas. Then there's Bill Gates building another one. These are unbelievable projects that, you're reading a science fiction book. Well, they're not science fiction anymore. They're real. So that reality has now sinked in. And I'm a big believer that for everything in the world, there is a community of people that believe in that. And that's something really interesting that most people don't understand what I mean by that. Well, not everybody likes cars. Not everybody likes bikes. not everybody likes black or blue. The point is, we're human beings. We all have different choices, and every choice, there's a community. So there are friends who like to go watch football games, and there are like those who like hockey games, and those are what we call the little communities. Those communities can grow and grow and grow.
Absolutely.
So that's the way capital raising needs to be done, with like-minded individuals that have an affiliation, an affinity to what you're doing, and they believe in it, and they're willing to participate in that journey. That's where the success of any company, including Zergratran, but any company, it's the key. Because every company, whether it's like this project or any other, it's a big leap. But we need big leaps in order to take us to the next stage.
I couldn't think of a better ending than that, Oscar. Thank you so much for explaining what Reg A actually is. I mean, I think a lot of people in America may know, but there are a lot of people, for example, in Europe that are not familiar with it. So thank you very much for explaining how it works, what the different parts of what the different parties are that are involved, what your role is, but also your views on technology and our project. So thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you, Martin. I really appreciate it. And anything you need, just give me a shout out. I'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.